but it's a long story. Maybe we might tell it tonight. Well, we have a few devotees here tonight. Hare Krishna. So first of all, I have a question for everybody who's listening online. Can you hear me okay? Jai Gaur,
Yes, can hear you okay.
Bhajabani, okay. Spasiba. Mani Gopal's here tonight too. Nice to see you. Okay, so we have a group of devotees here tonight with us, some Russian-speaking devotees. And I wanted to try to do some service for them, to speak a little something about Jagannath and Puri. And also because today is a special festival day, there's 4 different festivals going on today. And some of the most important festivals of the year. This is the day of the Sunavesh. Suna in Odia is the same as Suno in Bengali. It means gold. It's Jagannath's gold dress. I don't like that dress so much. I don't have any pictures here. We have some on some of our magazines. It's the day of the Sunavesh. It's also the day that Lord Jagannath, Baladi, Subhadra go back inside the temple. And it's a day which is also known as Lakshmi Manabhanjana Leela. It's the day when Lord Jagannath breaks the man, the sulky anger of Lakshmi Devi. This is an important thing for every husband. You're married, Prabhuji? No? Maybe you get married someday. Okay. So this is an important thing for every married man to hear. Mataji, you tell me this is correct or not. Rupa Goswami describes 4 different types of separation. There's Purvarag, before they meet. There's Man, which means some anger. There's Prema Vaichitya, which is astonishing when the lover and beloved are together. And there's Prabhas, which is from a distance. Of Man, or sulkiness, Rupa Goswami says there's 2 types of Man, Hoitaki and Ahoitaki. There's anger, when the wife gets angry for a reason. And another type is when the wife gets angry for no reason. So God gave women a right to be angry for no reason. They can just be angry. So Lakshmi Devi, today she gets angry. And she doesn't allow Jagannath inside the temple. And I recently gave a long katha about that with some of the verses from the Vamadev Sanhita, the local Stala Purana, which describes this pastime and what happens. I'm not going to speak that today. If anybody's interested, I can give you a link. That's the 3rd festival. So when Lord Jagannath goes in, there's a 4th festival, which is known as Niladri Vijay. And in the Niladri Vijay, literally meaning the victory of the Blue Mountain, this is one of the 3 birthdays of Lord Jagannath. He has 3 birthdays. It's pretty good, huh? Almost as many as Indradyumna Maharaj. He has more, I think. But anyway, Lord Jagannath, he's Krishna. So Janmashtami is one of his birthdays. 2nd birthday is Snan Purnima, because that's the day that Lord Jagannath appeared from the yagya of the original Indradyumna Maharaj at Narendra Sarovar, Indradyumna Sarovar. And that's the day that he appeared there at the place known as Gundicha. I don't even know where it's at, Krishna. Okay, all right. So she's just waiting to record something. I'm confused. So Niladri, that's the 2nd birthday of Lord Jagannath. Snan Purnima. Janmashtami is his 1st birthday. Snan Purnima is the day that he appeared at Gundicha. That's why we have the Gundicha Yatra, or Rothyatra. He goes back to his home. That's why it's like Vrindavan. Because the place where you appear, that's always a very sweet place, even if it's a big city like Moscow or something, right? And the 3rd birthday that he has is called Nilacala Vijay, Niladri Vijay. Niladri Vijay is the day that Jagannath was installed in the temple here in Puri by Lord Brahma. That's another separate thing. The deity was installed previously at Gundicha, and then they had a procession coming. That's the Bahuta Rothyatra, when Jagannath comes from the Gundicha to the Sri Mandir. And then there's Niladri Vijay, when Jagannath enters into the temple. And part of the last bit of the festival of that, Jagannath and Lakshmi Devi's cloths are tied together in a knot again. It's a long, complicated story. I'm just telling a little something. So tonight, Hare Krishna Brinda Sundari, nice to see Gorni Tai. Let me just greet a few friends here and read. Nice to see you. Mani Gopal, I'm really glad you could make it, Prabhuji. And who else is here tonight? Jai Gora is here. Nice to see everybody. So today, with everybody's blessing, we were going to give this Gora Kata and speak more about how Gauranga Mahaprabhu is Yuga Dharma Palo, and the third way that he nourishes the Yuga Dharma. That's another topic. That was going to be our subject today. But because we have these friends here, and also because not so long ago, Ananta Gauranga Prabhu asked me a question about Giriraj and Jagannath, which I didn't answer. I'd like to try to answer that tonight. And also my god sister, she asked me something about how it is that all of Jagannath's, all of Braj-lila is going on here in Jagannath Puri. So that's something we want to touch on tonight. This is actually a huge, huge subject. We could speak on it probably for weeks, for many hours a day. It's a very, very big subject. We'll just try to touch on it in a general way. But let's just say a few prayers to begin with. Gora Graganya Gana Gota Goloruharam Goranga Gudatama Gopyada Kopa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshikavaram Satatam Namami Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachiya Dile Kakola Kahe Premananda Emona Goranga Hridoya Dadiya Bola Bhaja Goranga Kaha Goranga Laha Gorangera Namare Jai Jana Goranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema Bidana Parama Pumata Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Sri Kuryat Kripaya Judi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pidva Rishiyustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunathapta Brajabala Bapahimam Vancha Kalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Nice to see you, Gwarnitai Prabhu. We were missing your Sangha. I hope everything's been okay for you. You look like you're getting younger every day. Hare Krishna. So, uh, my god sister contacted me a few days ago, Nalini, and she was asking in England, how is it that my Guru Maharaj says that all the Brhad-bhagavatamrta are going on in Jagannath Puri? How do we understand that? Is that true? What do you think? It's a little hard to say. I mean, because we have some trick behind us, right? That's why you're a little hesitant to say something. But you walk around in Jagannath Puri. Where's Radhakun? Where's Shamakun? Where's Govardhan Hill? Okay, Chatak Parvat is there. It's kind of a Govardhan Hill. It's not really the same. It's different. There's no ocean in Vrindavan. There's an ocean here. Everything's different here. But Krishna's here. That's a very good point. But Krishna's everywhere. Or at least for Krishna's devotees. See, Hare Krishna devotees are very, very tricky, right? They can say anything practically and twist it this way and that way. So my Guru Maharaj said this, but he was quoting a verse from the Vaiṣṇava-tantra. Mathura dvārakā-līlā karoti gokule nīlācala sthitaḥ kṛṣṇa eva racati prabhuḥ. Mathura dvārakā-līlā karoti gokule Nilacala and sthitaḥ kṛṣṇa eva racati prabhuḥ. Whatever pastimes are going on in Mathura, in Dwarka, in Gokula, Vrindavan, in Nilacala, all those pastimes are also going on in Nilacala, Jagannath Puri Dham. This is a statement in Vaiṣṇava-tantra. Okay, all right, so you're not going to argue with me so much now, right? Because I just quoted a verse. He's got a verse, all right. But what does it mean? Is it literal? Is it kind of like imaginary? I mean, what does it mean, right? Because they're two different places, Jagannath Puri and Vrindavan Dham, and they're two different moods. So how is it? I've spoke many, many times before. Some of you may have heard me speak about how Jagannath Puri is Gupta Vrindavan. But how is it that all the pastimes of Braj are present in Jagannath Puri? So we should quote authority. That's the first thing. Right? If we don't quote authority, no one wants to hear from you. We may not be such a big person. I'm not like my Guru Maharaj. I'm not a very elevated Vaishnav, something, but we're just speaking for our own purification. So we should quote authority. What is one of the best authorities to quote when you're speaking about Jagannath and Jagannath Puri? What do you think? Prabhupada, okay. But what about before Prabhupada? What did they quote then? Mahaprabhu, okay. What about before Mahaprabhu? What did they quote then? Bhagavatam is good, but Bhagavatam doesn't really speak so much about Jagannath Puri. Skanda Purana speaks about it. How about Jagannathastakam? Shankaracharya wrote the Jagannathastakam. That's a confusing thing. Sometimes it's said in some manuscripts that it was spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have, I don't know, maybe 50 or 100 old Bengali songbooks in our library. I could open up the cabinet there. There's a couple of books, over 100 years old. 2-volume book called Padakalpa Turu and Gora Padatarangini, 2 very old Bengali songbooks. There's so many songs. And generally it's said that it's spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But I had a problem with that. Is it true? I mean, of course, Gaudiya Vaishnavas always want to glorify Mahaprabhu. But if he spoke it, does that mean it originated with him? And if it originated with him, why are there no commentaries on it? We probably have maybe 30 or 40, maybe 50 commentaries on Shiksastakam. There's so many commentaries. The first commentary I'm aware of Shiksastakam was written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Because Mahaprabhu wrote the Shiksastakam, spoke it here in Jagannath Puri, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explained it. That was the first commentary. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written a commentary. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Many, many different Gaudiya Vaishnavas have written commentaries. How many commentaries do you know on Jagannathastakam? I've gone to all the different scholars. I spoke to the king of Puri. I spoke to different Mahants here in Puri. And everybody says the same number. 0. No commentaries. So if it's spoken by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why didn't anybody comment on it? That's question number 1. Question number 2, if it was spoken or written by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jagannathastakam is such beautiful poetry. Why didn't Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami quote it in Chaitanya Charitamrita? Or Vrindavan Das Thakur in Chaitanya Bhagavat, or Murari Gupta in his Chaitanya Charitamrita Mahakavya, or Lochan Das Thakur in his Chaitanya Mangal, or Jayananda in his Chaitanya Mangal, or Kavi Karnapur in his Chaitanya Charitamrita Mahakavya, or Narahari Chakravarti in his Bhakti Ratnakar. These are all standard biographies of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and none of them have Jagannathastakam in them. None of them mention that Mahaprabhu wrote it or spoke it. It would be a big thing if he spoke it. Wouldn't someone write? So I had serious doubt. So I started speaking to different Mahants and Pandits, and everybody basically said it was written by Shankaracharya. And as one Mahant told me, the Mahant at the Radhakant here in Puri, were the original deities of Narottam Das Thakur, not the Gambhira, but the Radhakant. It's a different place. We took Indradyumna Maharaj there some years ago. And a very nice place. There, I asked him, the Mahant there, he's a very good scholar. In fact, Gajapati Maharaj, the king of Puri, he personally told me I should go to speak to him and ask him some questions. A very good scholar. So I asked him, who's the author? And he said, Shankaracharya. And he said, don't feel bad. He said, it's a feather in our cap. We have that saying in America. Right? When you have a feather in your hat, you look very good. Right? Krishna looks very good when he has a peacock feather in his hat, right? Feather in your hat means it's something to your credit. So this is good for us. Shankaracharya said it's very personal, glorifying Krishna. Very good. So pretty much everybody accepts that. So let's look in Jagannathastakam. In the first verse, Kadaha chit kalindi tatavipina sangita kadavo Mudabiri narivadana kamalasvada madupa Rama Shambhu Brahma Madapati Ganesha Chitapado Jagannatha Swami Noyana Patagami Bhavatume Bolo Jagannatha Swami Noyana Patagami Bhavatume. So I'm going to paste this into our little chat, and I'm going to request, who should I request? How about Jai Gore? Are you there, Jai Gore? Would you please read this out to all of us? Turn up the
Lord Jagannath sometimes
speak loudly.
Makes them
Lord Jagannath.
Okay, bro. Lord Jagannath sometimes makes the melodious sounds of playing music and singing throughout the groves on the banks of the Kalindi River. He is like a bumblebee experiencing great delight while tasting the nectar of the lotus-like faces of the cowherd damsels. His lotus feet are worshipped by great personalities such as Lakshmi, Shiva, Brahma, Indra, and Ganesh. May that Lord of the universe kindly become visible unto me.
Interesting. Okay, so right away in Jagannathastakam, very first verse, the author, whoever it may be, he's saying that kadachit means sometimes. Now that's an interesting word. It's the very first word. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes. Kadachit kalindi tatavipina sangita kadavo. Lord Jagannath's doing a concert. He's taking his flute out and he's glorifying Jagannath. He's doing this concert, Kalinditata, on the bank of the Jamuna River. He's doing it in Vrindavan. Kadachit Kalinditata vipina sangita kadavo. And he's doing that concert. It's Sangita Kadavo. It means there's some singing and dancing and music and like that. Mudabiri nadi vadana kamalas vada madupa. And just like a madupa, we've been hearing on Tuesday morning, we have a class on the 47th chapter right now of the 10th canto, which is the Brahma Gita. And so it's speaking to the madupa, the bumblebee, madupa. So Lord Jagannath, he's like a madupa. He's a bumblebee who's tasting the lotus-like faces of the gopis of Vrindavan. Okay, so now what are we understanding from this first verse? And I don't want to try to give an elaborate commentary in Jagannathastakam. That would be another seminar, but just a few verses. Kadachit, sometimes, not always, sometimes. Kadachit kalindi tata vipina. That he, on the bank of the Jamuna, in the groves and in the kunjas of Vipina. Vipina means a kunj. In the kunjas, on the bank of the Jamuna, he's singing and dancing. He's doing this Ras Lila with the gopis of Vrindavan. Okay, first thing, sometimes. Second thing, Vrindavan Lila. Third thing, Rama Shambhu Brahm Amarapati Ganesha Chitapado. Rama means Lakshmi Devi. That's a name for Lakshmi. Rama. Shambhu means Lord Shiva. Rama Shambhu Brahma, Lord Brahma. And Amarapati, the Amarapati, the Lord of the Amara. Amara means that those persons who don't have to die, they have to die, but it takes a long time. That means the demigods. They're the Amarapati. That means Indra. Ganesh. Ganesh is also worship. They're all Archita Pada. Archita means we worshipped, and Pada means the feet. They're all worshiping the lotus feet of Jagannath. Now, this is a little unusual, isn't it? In Braj, in Vrindavan, okay, Indra shows up. Lord Brahma makes a big mistake, and Indra both, and he shows up too. Lakshmi Devi, she's over there in Madhuvan, and she can't come in. She's Lakshmi Van, she's locked out sometime, right? She has a little kind of pastime, but she's not really in Vrindavan either. Okay. Lord Shiva, he shows up. He's there is the Kshetra, the guardian. He comes as Gopishwar Mahadev. He's there, but they're all there in kind of a insignificant way. And Ganesh, does anybody know any pastimes of Ganesh and Vrindavan? Okay, anybody online here? Brenda Sundari, Gorni Tai? Jai Gaur, you don't know any Braj Leela about Ganesh? I know one. Just came to my mind. In Ananda Vrindavan Champu by Kavi Karnapur, after Indra made his kind of sort of big mistake, he kind of sort of tried to murder all the Brijbasis with like a nuclear bomb, the Samvardika cloud. It was a big mistake. And he came along with the Sarabi cow to beg forgiveness from Krishna. And he also came with all the different demigods. And one of them was that fat, jolly fellow who's always eating ladus, whose name is Ganesh. And he was also there worshiping him. But in general, we don't hear, that's the only pastime that comes to my mind straight away. Maybe there's some other pastime of Ganesh in Braj. Anybody else have any Ganesh pastimes in Braj? Mani Gopal, do you know any? Natalia? Ujjala Rasiga, do you know any stories of Ganesh and Braj? Okay, so this verse is a little different, okay? It's speaking about Braj Leela, but it's saying kadachit. Kadachit means sometimes he's doing this. But it's not just like a lower class, we might call Braj Leela. I don't know if there's any low class Braj Leela, but it's not just Shanta Ras or even Dasya Ras or even Sakya Ras, but he's talking about Madhurja Ras of the gopis, dancing with the gopis. Okay, so maybe that's just a one-off, as they would say, right, in America. Maybe it's just saying like that, but it's not really, we don't take it so seriously. Second verse of Jagannathastakam. Bhuje sabbe venam siddhasi sikhi pitcham katitate dukulam netrante sahachari kataksham vidadate Sada Srimad Vrindavana Basati Lila Parichayo Jagannatha Swami Noyana Patagami Bhavatume. Okay, so Buje means in the left side. Bhuje sabye, in his left hand, Bhuje sabye venam sedasi sikipicham katitate. Bhuje sabye venam. In his left hand, he's holding a murali, a flute, venam. Okay, this is Jagannath. He's holding a flute. And sedasi sikipicham. Siddhasi means on the head, right? We have Sirsasan. You know Sirsasan? Does anybody know Sirsasan? Yeah. When you're standing on your head. Right? We don't do that in Mangalartik, but it's good for health. Siddhasi Sikhi Pitcham. So he has a peacock feather on his head. And Katitate, around his hips, Dukulam, he has some very nice cloth. This is Krishna in Vrindavan. In his dhoti, he has a nice cloth. And Netrante Sahachari Kataksham, out of the corners of his eyes. And there's two prayers. Krishna Kripa Kataksa Stavaraj and Radha Kripa Kataksa Stavaraj. And speaking about the sidelong glances of Krishna and Radharani. So this verse is speaking about that. Kataksham, that he's glancing out of the corners of his eyes on those residents of Vrindavan. And then it says, if you have any further doubt from the previous verse, Sada. Okay, what does Sada mean? Eternally, always. Sada means always. Sada, Srimad means beautiful, right? A more esoteric meaning of Srimad means endowed with Shri, which means Sarva Ankshani Radhika. And Srimati Radharani. But okay, it doesn't always mean that. We say Sri Narayan. It doesn't mean that Nilacala Radharani is with Narayan. Or does it? That's another topic I'm not going to go to right now. But anyway, Srimad, Sada Srimad Brindavana. Okay, we know Vrindavan. Sada Srimad Brindavana Basati. What does Basati mean? To reside. Right. Sada. Always, Sada Srimad Vrindavana Basati. He's always living in Vrindavan. This is Jagannath. Sada Srimad Vrindavana Basati Lila Parichayo. And he's very fond of those pastimes. Parichayo means he likes them so much, too much. Jagannath Swami Noyana Patagami Bhavatumi. Oh, that's the second verse. In so many verses in Jagannathastakam, I don't want to spend so much time on that. We want to speak more about some of the Lilas, Brhad-bhagavatamrta and Jagannath Puri, but we have to make a foundation first of Siddhanta. Otherwise, you won't believe what I'm saying. You just, it's just some stories or something. He must be from Russia. He heard from some babushka or something. Some old Russian Mataji cries a lot and tells stories. Right? Okay. So, I'm sorry. In the 6th verse of Jagannathastakam, if you had any further doubts, Param Brahma Pira Kuvalaya Dolot Fulanayano. He's Param Brahma Pira. He's a supreme Parabrahma. We know what Parabrahma means. Anybody reads Bhagavad Gita, you should know what Parabrahma means. I'm sorry, this is a little technical, but we should know some of the things Srila Prabhupada speaks on. Parabrahma Pira. He's Param Brahma. Apida means the crown or the topmost. So of all the different Parabrahma, wow, I didn't know there was different Parabrahma. Krishna's Parabrahma. Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitamidamo. He says in Gita, he's Param Brahma. Krishna's Param Brahma. But of Param Brahma, Lord Jagannath is Param Brahma Apida. He's Apida. He's Apida. Apida means the crown, the crest jewel of Parabrahma. Kuvalaya dolot fulanayano. And he's his eyes or his nayana, his eyes are just like Kuvalaya dolot fula, are just like a full-blown lotus. He has beautiful lotus-like eyes. Okay, that's nice. Let's go on to the next verse. Next line. Nibasi nilado nihita charano nanta shirasi. Nibasi niladro. Okay, this word nibas again. He's a resident of Nilad, of Jagannath Puri. Now it's a little complicated because it just said Sada Shrimad Vrindavana Basati. And now we're hearing Nibasi Niladro. Before, in the second verse, it says he's eternally residing in Vrindavan. And now it's saying that he's residing in Jagannath Puri, Niladri. Nivasi nilado nihita charano nanta sirasi. And his feet are placed on the heads of Ananta Sesh. And then my favorite line. Rasanandi Radha Sarasa Vapur Alingana Sukha. Alingana means to embrace. And Sukha means great happiness. Embracing with great happiness. And who is he embracing with great happiness? Rasanandi with great rasa. Anandi, in ecstasy. He's this ecstasy of rasa. Rasanandi Radha Sarasa Vapur. The body is Srimati Radharani. He's always embracing. That's another topic. We sometimes speak about, we wrote some articles about Srimati Radharani and Lord Jagannath. I can refer you to that if you like. It's in our magazine called The Hidden Identity of Lord Jagannath. I don't want to go so much in that direction today. Rather, we want to build on those things which we've already spoken on. You may not know about them, but they've already been spoken about. We want to build on that and go to some other subject matter. So one line in these three verses which we haven't spoken about. Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatame. This line, which is the last line, that's the refrain, the chorus of each one of these verses, is the second time. Is the first time where it's the second time, where it's mentioning something or inferring about a glance. So it's saying that Abhiranadi Vadana Kamala Asvada. Asvada means to taste or to relish. So Lord Jagannath is always relishing. He's looking at the faces of the gopis. So in the very first verse, there's something about the power of a glance. And then we hear Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatame, that Lord Jagannath Nayana Pata. Pata means the path, and Nayana means the eyes. May you please come on the path of my eyes. And Gami means the one who travels on the path of the eyes. Bhavatame, may that become mine. And then in the second verse, it's speaking again about Netranti, about his sidelong glances, kataksham, that he's doing on the gopis there. So this is Jagannath Puri. Here in this place, Kadachit, sometimes there's some Braj-līlā going on. And Lord Jagannath, here he's Sada Srimad Vrindavana Basati. He's always living here. All the Līlas are going on here, just as it was described in Vaiṣṇava-tantra, Mathura, dvārakā-līlā, karoti, gokule, nīlācala, sthitaḥ, kṛṣṇa, eva racati, prabhuḥ. So all these pastimes are going on, but there's something a little different. Kadachit, sometimes. That's the first thing. The second thing is Rama, Shambhu, Brahma, Madhapati, Ganesha, Chittapado. That all these other fellows are hanging out there. Also, the gopis are there, but along with Lakshmi Devi, along with Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Indra, Ganesh, everybody's there. That's a little weird, isn't it? That's the second element. Third element that we find, we're not speaking about Srimati Radharani being it. We'll just accept that as part of being like Vrindavan. Third element is that this is a place where everyone is crying to see Jagannath. Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatame. So, Srila Sanatana Goswami in Brhad-bhagavatamrta, he speaks about Jagannath Puri, and he says there that, what is the verse? That whatever pastimes one may find within Vrindavan, Tasmin Subhadra Balaram Samyutas, Tamvai Vinodham Purushottama Bhajet Chakre, Sagobardhana Brindakatabi Kalinda Jutira Bibiswayamayam. Whatever pastimes are found in Govardhan Hill and in the Vrindavan Forest and the Jamuna River, they're all found in Jagannath Puri. These three things are found here. It doesn't mean that these three things are found here in the same way that they are in Vrindavan, because this is not Vrindavan. This is Jagannath Puri. We have a problem right away. One problem is that we don't see these pastimes here. Another very simple problem is that if you say this is like Vrindavan and all the Braj-līlas going on here, then it sounds kind of impersonal. It's all one, right? And there's no difference between Jagannath Puri and Vrindavan. It's just all one. What's the point? So why go to Vrindavan? Why come to Jagannath Puri to stay in one or the other? But there is some difference. So these are very, very deep topics which we should contemplate. And if we contemplate on them very deeply, we may understand something about the purpose of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming to Jagannath Puri. I'd like to read you a little something from the Embankment of Separation, where Guru Maharaj speaks. He says, Jagannath Puri Dham is known as Sri Kshetra. Sri Devi is a Sarup Shakti, Krishna's internal potency. Therefore, that Dham, that place, which is glorified, take some licorice, by the presence of the Sri Shakti, is known as Sri Kshetra. Sri means Sarva Lakshmi Moyi Angsini Radhika. Shrimati Radhika, who is the source of all Shaktis. Those persons, he says, who are followers or devotees of Madhurya Ras can see that Sri Kshetra, and this is how they pronounce it here, they say Kshetra. In Vrindavan they'll say Kshetra, but we say Kshetra here. Those devotees, or followers of devotees of Madhurya Ras, can see that Sri Kshetra is the Kshetra in which Radharani's Madhurya Ras is manifested. Only such Madhurya Ras bhaktas can see it, others cannot. That is why Jagannath Puri is known as Sri Kshetra. And Mahaprabhu stayed there because he had assumed Radha Bhav. Upon seeing Jagannath, he would see Sham Sundar and think, O beloved of my heart. Therefore, that Kshetra, which is glorified and influenced by Radharani's Madhurya Ras, is known as Sri Kshetra. If you have the vision, he said, you can see all the Līlas there. Now, this is another interesting point he's introducing here, explaining this. If you have the vision, you can see all the Līlas there. When Mahaprabhu stayed there, he saw Vrindavan. When he saw Chatak Parvat, he said, oh, Govardhan. When he saw the sea, he said, oh, it is a Jamuna. When he saw the garden called Jagannath Vallabha, he said, oh, it is Vrindavan. Mahaprabhu saw all of Krishna's Līlas there in Sri Kshetra. So, Jagannath Puri Dham is a place of all these different pastimes, but they manifest in a little different way. I'd like to speak with you now about some little confidential things which many devotees don't know, something about the worship in the Jagannath Mandir. They do some dhyan. They meditate on Lord Jagannath. That's a common procedure as part of puja. You also do dhyan. You meditate on the Lord. You meditate on your own sarup, your own position as a servant. So they have 4 different meditations on Lord Jagannath, at Prata, at Madhyan, Sandhya, and Ratri. In the morning, noon, dusk, and late night. So the puja paditis, like the Vamadev Sanhita and the Niladri Mahodaya and other books, Stala Puranas, which speak about the worship of Lord Jagannath, explain these 4 different types of meditation. And in the morning, they meditate on Lord Jagannath as baby Krishna. And they meditate on him with soft reddish feet, soft reddish palms. And he's wearing golden ornaments on his body. And he has a very sweet, smiling face. And you meditate on him crawling around in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj's palace with a lump of butter in his hand. This is how they meditate on Lord Jagannath in the morning. This is Jagannath. This is Braj-lila, right? At noontime, the Madhyan Lila, Jagannath is meditated upon as Krishna sitting on a divine lotus of 8 petals on a jeweled throne under a Kopa Briksha tree, a wish-fulfilling tree in Vrindavan. And he's surrounded by different gopis and cowherd boys, and also sages and yogis and Gandharvas, Apsaras, different demigods and like that. This is the Jagannath Mandir. They're meditating on Krishna, but this noon meditation, it's in Vrindavan, but there's a lot of demigods. Something like we were just mentioning from Kavi Karnapur's Ananda Vrindavan Champu, where he speaks about how all the demigods came to Govinda Kund and they worshiped Krishna. They did Abhishek for him there, and they appointed him as king. So at dusk, at Sandhya, they meditate on Jagannath sitting on a deer skin as Krishna in a palace garden in Dwarka, speaking philosophy. And he's doing this kind of Gyan Mudra. Krishna's like this, so Gyan Mudra, sitting on a deer skin. Deer skin is something which gives knowledge. So that's one reason why traditionally sages sit on deer skin. Vaishnavas generally don't do that. And that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastised Brahmananda Bharati. Generally, Vaishnavas use kusha grass or wool. Wool provides purity, as does kusha grass. Straw promotes insanity. And plastic, I don't know what good that does for you, but it's a kind of an asan anyway. But tiger skin gives mystic powers. But Vaishnavas don't want that. And it said that, I saw that, that deer skin gives some purity. So at dusk, Jagannath is meditating on sitting on this deer skin in the palace garden in Dwarka, speaking philosophy to Narad Muni. Then at Ratri Lila, late at night, this is a time known as Bada Shringara Dup. Bada Shringara Dup, Dup means incense. The Bada Shringara Dup is the last artik of the day. And Lord Jagannath has a special dress on that time of day, known as the Bada Shringara Besh. Bada in Oriya means the same in Bengali. We have Mani Gopal here tonight with us, I think. Bada means Boro in Bengali, means very big, very much. Bada or Boro. Shringara. Shringara is the same in Bengali and Sanskrit and Oriya, means Shringara Ras, the pastimes of the gopis and Krishna. Bada Shringara Besh, and Besh means a dress. So in the Ratri Lila, Jagannath is meditated on as a lover of the gopis, doing pastimes with them on the banks of the Jamuna during the Ras Lila. And he wears this Bada Shringara Besh, which this Bada Shringara Besh, so many things that we can talk about. Bada Shringara Besh, one of the main elements of it is called the Gita Govinda Kandua. You've heard something about that? The Gita Govinda, we all know about the Gita Govinda, I hope. Gita Govinda is one of the most famous artistic books in the world. We wrote some article with Krishna Kund a few years ago about that. There's over 200 translations of Gita Govinda. There's hundreds of commentaries on it. It's a very, very popular book. And there's other copies of not exact copies, but there's other devotees like Dina Krishnadas, one Oriya Gaudiya Vaishnav, who wrote a book very similar to Gita Govinda also. That's another topic there. So that Gita Govinda was written by Jayadev Goswami, and it's very, very dear to Lord Jagannath. Lord Jagannath is known as Gita Govinda Thakur. If you go in the Jagannath Mandir, they'll probably beat you if you try to go inside. Don't try to go inside. But if you went inside the Jagannath Mandir, there's a plaque, a copper plaque, I'm told, I haven't been inside either, near the altar, which is put there by Maharaj Prataparudra. And that plaque describes Jagannath as Gita Govinda Thakur, or the Thakur, the Lord of the Gita Govinda. And that Gita Govinda Thakur topic is a very big subject. We could speak just about that for so long. I don't want to go in that direction either. But we can mention one pastime that Jayadev Goswami, the author of the Gita Govinda, started having some desire. His desire was that he thought, I think Jagannath would like to be dressed in Gita Govinda. I'd like to wrap Gita Govinda on his body. No, that's crazy. But then the idea, the thought kept coming to his heart. And he's a great Vaishnav. So devotees should listen to their heart. After some time, you've been chanting for many years. Actually, we don't really have much choice because everybody's going to listen to their heart. They're going to listen to their inspiration. Therefore, the first thing is Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Purify your heart so you can hear the right voice. But we always want to look, what is Krishna's voice? And if a devotee keeps having the same inspiration, and it's a good inspiration, maybe that's coming from Krishna. So Jayadev was thinking maybe this is Krishna's desire. I don't know. So, but then he spoke to the king. The king said, yes, you should make some cloth. So in his village, Kendu Bilva, he started working with the weavers, and no one at that time knew Gita Govinda. So Jayadev Goswami was singing it slowly, and the weavers, they were weaving it into the cloth. They were literally like stitching the writing of Gita Govinda into the cloth. And at one point, Jayadev Goswami, he came to a very ecstatic verse, and suddenly Jayadev Goswami, he fell to the ground unconscious. And this is a problem because then who's going to recite the Gita Govinda? So the weavers, they had to stop. They couldn't do anything. And then all of a sudden, they heard someone singing the Gita Govinda and playing some kartals, some kind of strange kartals. And the sadhu showed up, and he was singing Gita Govinda, and they said, who are you? And he said, I'm the older brother of Jayadev. My name is Krishna Dev. And Jayadev right now, he's in ecstasy. He can't do very much. So I'll sing the next verse. And he had these kartals, really cool kartals. They were made out of coconuts, 2 halves of coconuts. And he was playing kartals like that. And then he began to sing. Kamsara api sangsara basana bandha shrinkalam rada adaya hridaye tajaja brajasundari. A translation of the verse is that when Krishna was the enemy of Kamsa, Kamsarir, api sangsara basana bandha shrinkalam, when he remembered the intimate love that Radharani offered to him previously, he realized that was the essence of the highest devotion. And considering that Radharani's love is the topmost, Radham adaya hridaye tvaja brajchaja tatjaja brajasundari. Tatyaja means to give up. Tatyaja brajasundari. He gave up all the other gopis, and he went to Radharani. So this Krishna Dev was singing this thing, the elder brother of Jayadev Goswami. As he was singing and playing those coconut shells, Jayadev Goswami heard that, and his samadhi broke, and he regained external consciousness, and he was astonished. And he's asking, who is singing the verses that are hidden in my heart? This is an interesting point, by the way. Verses should come from our heart. Jan Chandra Goswami, in his Gaur Govinda Smarana Archana Padati, Jan Chandra Goswami is a disciple of Gopal Guru Goswami, who in turn was a disciple of Nikeshwar Pandit Prabhu, in these places in the Gambhira. He wrote this nice book, the Gaur Govinda Smarana Archana Padati, and in there he says that when you chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you should become one with that mantra. It should be just like coming out of your body, out of your heart. It's your heart speaking. It's not just your lips moving, nick, 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 and maybe even your ears listening a little bit, or your mind trying to pay attention, but your heart. Therefore, Prabhupada once said, a little secret about chanting, he said that the secret of chanting is you listen to yourself chant with sincerity. So chanting with sincerity means we make that mantra our own. So Jayadev Goswami didn't just intellectually sit down and write Gita Govinda, oh, this sounds cool, I'm going to do this thing. Even this is artistic, but it was just an outpouring of his heart. In the same way, Udgar, or Udgarna, the word is used in the 47th chapter of the 10th canto, the Brahmara Gita, that the gopis, they were Udgara, it was coming out like a volcano, just exploding from their hearts. It was spontaneous. It wasn't a calculated mental thing. So Jayadev was thinking, how does anybody know these verses that are hidden in my heart? And just at that moment, Krishna Dev, he put down the coconut shells and walked away. And then Jayadev, he got up and he said, what's going on? And they told him, well, you something happened to you, you fell down unconscious, and your big brother came and he started playing these crazy coconut shells, and he started singing this verse. And Jaidev said, I don't have a big brother. No, you do. His name's Krishna Dev Roy. Oh, that's Lord Jagannath. And then he understood Lord Jagannath is very, very eager for this thing to go on. So some years ago, one of the pandits here in Puri, who dresses Jagannath on a regular basis, he gave me this as a gift. This is Mahaprasad from Lord Jagannath. This is a Gita Govinda Kandua. When you see the white lines in here, these are audio verses from the Gita Govinda. And this is offered to Lord Jagannath at the time of the Bada Shringara Vesh, or Bada Shringara Dup, when the gopis come to see Krishna every night. So I'll pass this around here in the room. And Brinda Sundari, if you want, you can put this on your head, but you have to get permission from your husband to come here to Jagannath Puri. She's in Denver, Colorado, watching right now. Or Gorni Thai Prabhu, if you want to come here from Paris, you can also do that, or wherever you're at in France right now, I suppose. We'll pass that around. So this is Lord Jagannath. These are the pastimes of Braj. And we could go on and on and on in so many different ways, speaking about different Braj Līlas which are going on in Jagannath Puri, but in a different kind of mood, in a mood of separation. I'll just mention one other pastime which is not so well known for a lot of devotees. We wrote about it in a magazine we made about Jagannath Mahaprasad. During the time from Dana Sankranti to Makara Sankranti, there's a special offering they make every day to Lord Jagannath. It's called the Pahili Bhog. Right? And they make this every morning for Lord Jagannath. And there's a special story behind this. And this gives us some understanding about how it is that all of the Braj Līlas are going on here in Jagannath Puri. The story is that once in Dwarka, Krishna was there, and sometimes, and I don't mean to be offensive, Prabhuji, you don't mind, but I'll tell you something honestly. I tell this many times to the devotees. Krishna is not a brahmachari. Krishna is a mamachari. He likes his mama very much. He's a mamachari. That's what Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also a mamachari. So he's a mamachari. Krishna's there in Dwarka, and he's thinking about his mother so much, because everybody, see, your little boy also, he likes this story, huh? So we have a baby here in the room too. So Krishna was thinking about Mother Yashoda. He became so absorbed thinking about the intense Vatsalya Priti, or maternal love, that Mother Yashoda has for him, that suddenly there in Dwarka, Krishna's form changed, and he became Bala Gopal, baby Krishna, there in Dwarka. And it was just at that moment that Narad Muni came there. And Narad Muni came and said, hey, I saw that. I saw that. What is this? This form of yours is a baby? Huh? Here, this is Dwarka. You don't do that here in Dwarka. What's going on? Huh? Why did you manifest? And then Krishna told Narad Muni, he said, you don't know about my mother. I'm a mamachari. I'm also a mamachari. So it's my mother's picture over there. I keep her picture with me because I should love her mother. It's important. So he told Narad Muni, he said, my mother, you don't know how much love she has for me. You should go to Vrindavan, Narad Muni, and you should see my mother and how much love she has. So Narad Muni went to Vrindavan to learn something about the love that Yashoda had for Krishna. So he arrived there in Gopapur, Vrindavan. And when Narada arrived, it was early in the morning. And he saw Krishna and Balaram sitting on the lap of Mother Yashoda. And Mother Yashoda was feeding them with her hand. Huh? And many mothers, they like to do that. So nice. It's a very sweet thing. Feed the child. Even sometimes I've seen grown men, their mothers also want to feed them something from her hand. Huh? And Narada Muni, he saw Mother Yashoda feeding Krishna and Balaram like that. And he saw, wow, so much love. And he saw she had such a big variety of foodstuffs, a big tray, so many different foodstuffs. And Kanai and Balai, Krishna and Balaram, were nibbling on them with great pleasure. And he saw such a charming, sweet thing. So this pastime became known as Pahili Bhog. Pahili Bhog is the first offering of the day. We've had sometimes, once we were doing Harinam here in Puri. I'll just tell you the whole story. It's such a nice story, actually. It's a little sidetrack, but it's a nice story. Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj was here with a group many years ago. And we took the devotees to the Jagannath Mandir one day to do Harinam. And at one point I stood up on a rickshaw to give a little talk to the devotees. And I told all the devotees, someone was translating into Russian, that don't feel bad that we're standing out here like dogs on the street. We're not allowed inside. But don't feel bad because we're Jagannath Ankara Kukur. We're the dogs of Lord Jagannath. And then I told everybody, what does a dog do? Dog can't go in the house. The dog stays outside. And the dog jumps up and down and barks. Right? So that's what we're doing also. We're jumping up and down and we're barking. We're singing something. And Lord Jagannath likes it. So I gave some little talk. And then the last thing I told everybody, so now let's offer our Dandavat pranams in the road to Lord Jagannath. So everybody offered their pranams, Nilacala, Nibasaya, Nityaya, Paramatmane, Balabhadra, Subhadrabhyam, Jagannathaye Te Namaha, offered our pranams to Jagannath. And then we all got up. As soon as I got up, there was a panda, this is a true story, there was a panda standing right in front of me. And he had a basket, a Mahaprasad kind of basket, right? And he had a big smile on his face. And he told me in perfect English, he said, Lord Jagannath sent this for you.
Wow.
What is this? And I look in the basket, and what's inside the basket? Some Pahili Bhog. So this very special first offering of the day, which no one gets. You can't purchase that. You can only get that Pahili Bhog if you know the king of Puri. if you're some big person, if you know some panda, you have to have some special mafia connection or something like that. Then maybe you can do. But you can't purchase it. And he brought that to us. By this time, the devotees were doing kirtan. They didn't know what was going on. So after a minute or two, I stopped the kirtan. I took the microphone again. And I told everybody, so what does the dog do? The dog jumps up and down and barks. And then what does the master do? The master throws him a little bit of food. So Lord Jagannath sent all of us this prasadam. So this is a Pahili Bhog. And this is here in Jagannath Puri Dham. All the pastimes take place here. And if anybody's interested, we wrote some article about this Pahili Bhog. There's, I don't know, about 20 different preparations in it. It's a long, complicated. They consider it to be light preparations, but everything's all fried in ghee. It's made out of paneer and this and this. It's pretty heavy stuff for us Westerners.
Good morning.
Yeah, for the morning breakfast. That's a Pahili Bhog. So in so many different ways, Braj Leela is going on in Jagannath Puri, but the mood here is a little different. Kadachit, first of all, sometimes it's going on. Sada Srimad Vrindavana Basati Lila Parichayo. All the pastimes are eternally going on here, but sometimes we see them and sometimes we don't. Not everyone sees them. And there's a mood here which covers everything. And what is that mood? Jagannatha Swami Noyana Patagami Bhavatume. Oh Lord Jagannath, please allow me to see you. Bhakti Vikas Maharaj wrote this brilliant book, this Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhav, not so long ago. And in that book, there's a conversation with Srila Bhakti Siddhanta where he mentions something about Jagannathastakam. I'm just mentioning this because many devotees asked me about this. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta was criticizing people who just recite this Jagannathastakam prayer that I want to see Lord Jagannath. He says, I want to serve Lord Jagannath. But we should understand the context that he's speaking that in. He's criticizing when common people recite that prayer in a mechanical way for some desire for some mundane thing. But the gopis of Vrindavan, they're praying like that. A question comes, we often ask this question, some of you may have heard me ask, at least online. Why is it that the gopis didn't go to Mathura to see Krishna? As I've often commented, Radhanath Maharaj, for many years when he would come to Braj, he would arrive by train. This is when he was a brahmachari, early days of sannyasi. He would arrive by train to Mathura and he would walk on foot from Mathura to Vrindavan, and it would take him a few hours. It's not such a long distance. We make such a big thing about the feelings of separation the gopis have for Krishna. Why don't they just walk to Mathura? If they're tired of walking, they can take a cart or something, right? And go to Mathura. Krishna is there. Why don't they go? It's a very, very deep question. They could go, but they don't go because their desire is to see Krishna, but their desire to see Krishna is not like the desire a young boy has to see a young, beautiful girl, or a girl has a desire to see a beautiful boy. It's not that kind of desire. It's not a selfish desire. Their desire is not a desire for liberation either, to see Krishna. Their desire to see Krishna, they want to see him to render service to him. And they don't go to Mathura because what kind of service are we going to do there? That's the place they're all chanting Purusha Shukta and all the Brahmins are there and all this opulence and different things. We don't want to do that. There's no Jamuna River. There's no Vrindavan forest. There's no Govardhan Hill. We want those udipanas. We want those things which assist the mood of Vrindavan. Then we can really serve Krishna in the best way. So for that reason, the gopis don't go there. But the Purusha Bodhini Shruti of the Atharva Veda describes Yata Bhargavi Jamuna, Gobadana Ratna Samasana, Bimala Sadosa Chandika Sadosa Gopyaha. That here in Jagannath Puri, you'll find three things: the Jamuna River, the Vrindavan forest, and Govardhan Hill. Bimala Yata Bhargavi Jamuna. The Bhargavi River here, going around Puri, is non-different from the Jamuna River. Yata Bhargavi Jamuna, Gobadana Ratna Samasana. The Ratna Singhasan, the jeweled throne that Lord Jagannath sits on, is non-different from Govardhan, as is Chatak Parvat, that Ratna Singhasan. And that's a long topic about Govardhan. I'm not really answering an Ananta Gauranga Prabhu's question today about Govardhan and Jagannath, but in a way we are also. And then someone may say, well, where are the gopis? We want gopis, right? Devotees are not happy if there's no gopis. Sachi Prabhu may say, this is okay, but I want gopis. Where are gopis, right? Don't like gopis too much, your wife won't be happy. But let me say, where are the gopis? So the Purusha Bodhini Shruti, part of the Atharva Vedas, is a book which is also quoted by Rupa Goswami, says that Bimala Sadosa Chandika Sadosa Gopyaha. That here in Jagannath Puri, there are 16 different goddesses who are non-different from the 16 gopis of Vrindavan. Who are the 16 gopis of Vrindavan? The Astasakis and the Astamanjaris. And incidentally, in his Gaura Govinda Smarana Archana Padati, written here in Jagannath Puri, Jan Chandra Goswami is described when the Lord is Purnatama, or totally complete, as in Vrindavan. He has 16 full Shaktis. When he's Purnatara, more complete, he's Purna, Purnatara, and Purnatama. He's Purna in Dwarka, complete. Purnatara, more complete in Mathura, and Purnatama, most complete in Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, he has 16 Shaktis. In Mathura, he has 15. And in Dwarka, he has 14. But here in Jagannath Puri, he has 16 full Shaktis. And the 16 Shaktis manifest as the Astasakis and the Astamanjaris. So many pastimes, all of Braj Līlas going on here, but only for persons who can see it. In Jagannath, he has so many different Braj Līla Vaishas, and there's many, many different pastimes going on in so many different ways here in Puri, which are non-different from the pastimes of Vrindavan. But only those devotees who have the proper vision can see that. Other persons, they can't see it. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. It's really late, and usually we take time for some reflections. I'm really sorry. Let's see who's here who has to go. Ujjwala Rasiga, do you have to go right away? Oh, there's a whole lot of comments I see too. For those of you who don't know, Ujjwala Rasiga is a doctor in North Carolina, and she's standing outside the hospital right now. I can see. Do you have to go back to work
Hare
right away?
Krishna.
You want to make a comment
Hare
or
Krishna.
reflection tonight?
Yes, Prabhuji, pranams to you and to everybody there. This katha is very close to my heart, Prabhuji, because as I mentioned, I was thinking I'm getting more Jagannath conscious, but where is Vrindavan? That's what I was thinking for past few days since the Rothyatra. And this katha, actually, it's like more of giving water to a thirsty soul. I feel like, oh, now I got what I want. Little quenched, only a little bit. I have to hear this recording again, Prabhuji.
We could also, this is like an introduction to this topic too. And if we went further into it, what is, Srila Prabhupada writes in one purport, these three places, Vrindavan Dham, Navadvip Dham, and Jagannath Puri Dham are non-different. How are they non-different? Nilacala, Navadvipi, Jai Duigar. Sachi Mata, the mother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's known as Sachi Pran, or the life of Sachi Mata. She says that these two places, Navadvip and Jagannath Puri, are two rooms in the same house. So Jagannath Puri is a room inside of Vrindavan. It's Gupta Vrindavan, but this is a place where we cry in separation from Vrindavan. This is Vipralamba Kshetra. And therefore the mantra here is Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatume. And therefore I call this a Jagannath Puri University of Braj Prem. It's a place where we go to learn to do bhajan, to enter into Vrindavan. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us. He and his associates have taught us here in Jagannath Puri. It's all about Braj for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. That's a little something. Is that okay, Ujjwala Rasiga?
One quick thing, Prabhuji, where can I get more of this information of how the whole Vraja is in Jagannath Puri?
You could write a message to this lady. Her name, you may have heard of her. Her name is Anapayani Radha, and ask her about recordings. Or maybe you could write to Krishna phone. There's a lot of recordings. You could look on ISKCON Desire Tree. I've given a lot of classes on this topic over the years. Many seminars, sometimes for a week.
On this topic, Prabhuji?
Exactly on this
topic.
On this topic.
Wow.
And going much deeper on this topic also than we are today.
Sure. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So I think we should go now to Brenda Sundari, because she's the temple president in Denver and she has to go to Bhagavatam class, and if she doesn't, then everybody's going to criticize why the temple president is not coming to Bhagavatam class. You want to unmute yourself? Do you have any comments, reflections? You don't have to, actually.
Not so much. I mean, Ujjwala Rasiga Devi, she mentioned it too, that just how Jagannath is looking at the face of the devotees, at the gopis, and she was making the point, it's not just one-way traffic, it's two-way. So I was thinking the same thing, just the reciprocation between the devotees that is very intentional.
It's nice you brought this point up about this reciprocation. Sometimes devotees, we have a difficulty when we think in terms of dimensions, when we think in terms of geography or history, and we try to understand the Lita Madhav or the Bhagavatam through geography, history. We try to understand Jagannath Puri, and is it like this? Does it mean that it's like Vrindavan? And then where's Radhakund and where's Govardhan? And can I make a map here? And don't think like that. Mathura dvārakā-līlā ya karoti cha gokule nīlācala sthitaḥ kṛṣṇa racati prabhuḥ. All these pastimes are found here, but only someone who has a proper vision can see them. And those pastimes mean it's Vrindavan. But kadachit, it sometimes manifests for some people who have a proper vision. Okay? All right. Thank you very much, Brinda Sundari. Anybody else have any reflections they'd like to, let me read some of the comments. Gorni Thai Prabhu. Wow, there's a whole bunch of comments here. Mani Gopal says, Sada Vrindavana Lila Basati. Ujjwala Resiga says, oh, Jagannath is looking at the face of the gopis. It's wonderful and personally here. Then the gopis wanting to see him. Jagannath is paying attention and values his devotees. It's not just one-way traffic. Yes, that was a point that Brenda Suni was making. I didn't see that. And is kandua means cuddy cloth? No, kandua is a kind of silk cloth. It's not the same as cuddy at all. I'm not sure what kandua means. I can try to research that if somebody reminds me, though. Please zoom in the kandua. Someone's asking, if possible. Want to see those Oriya writings. Okay. Can you see? This is some of the writings from the Gita Govinda.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
This cloth, I got this many years ago around the time of the last Navakalevaram festival when they're changing Jagannath's body. And for the first about month or 2 months, when you would smell it, you could smell Jagannath. It smelled like Jagannath. It was just so awesome. It was like some kind of musk and karpur, camphor and things. But after some years of everybody pressing it to their heads and sweating, we had to like wash it and the smell went away. It's a little different now. Anyway, that's the kandua. Gorni Thai Prabhu comments, so as I understand, Lord Jagannath is living in Dwarka in his palace, but sometimes he feels very much separation from Vrindavan and goes there hiddenly to visit Vrindavan. Is it similar as in the book of Shivaram Maharaj, Krishna Sangati writes that when there's a possibility, Krishna goes back to Vrindavan? Well, this is a very deep subject, and different Vaishnavas see this in different ways. This is partly why I've been focusing a lot on the Brahma Ragit, the 47th chapter, the 10th canto, as part of our series we're calling Meeting in Kshetra, which is on this topic, that Krishna actually goes to Vrindavan. He's actually with the gopis in Vrindavan, and they're seeing him, they're feeling him, but they're thinking it's just a spurti, just some kind of illusion or something, but it's actually real. So in Nava Vrindavan, in Dwarka, not just in Dwarka, not in that opulent place, in that opulent island, but in that Nava Vrindavan, which is spoken about in Brhad-bhagavatamrta, in Mukta Charit by Raghunath Goswami, in Rupa Goswami's Ujjwala Mani, and Rupa Goswami's Lalita Madhava very extensively. It speaks about that garden in the Dwarka, and that, to properly explain this, I would have to go through Lalita Madhava, which is a very, very big subject. This is a little bit of foundational topic we're speaking today. Lalita Madhava is a postgraduate topic, and I have to have a lot of foundation to speak on that. But to try to jump ahead of that in a way that needs to be unpacked, there's a garden in that Lalita Madhava in Dwarka, which is Gupta Vrindavan. It's Vrindavan Dham. And it turns out that Gupta Vrindavan is Vrindavan. And Krishna never left Vrindavan, and he was always in Vrindavan the whole time. It just seemed externally like he'd left. So to say something which may just confuse everybody a lot more, that's Jagannath Puri. It's Vrindavan. It seems like Krishna's left Vrindavan, but he actually hasn't. He's really in Vrindavan, but it's a place, it's a chamber of Vrindavan, a chamber which is spoken of in the Sartha Darshini commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the 46th chapter of the 10th canto. And we spoke elaborately on that in some of our previous discussions. A chamber of separation in Vrindavan. This is Jagannath Puri, and I could substantiate that in many ways, but that would be a whole nother discussion. So is that okay, Gorni Tai? Is that helpful something? It's really nice to see you, Prabhuji. Brajabanita's there. She said, thank you very much. I have to go. It was wonderful. Okay, goodbye, Hare Krishna. Mani Gopal Prabhu has commented, thank you so much, Prabhu. Even though I've heard these pastimes many times from your lotus lips, Hare Krishna, and some are read from the Krishna Katamrita magazine, but listening to you immediately takes to another platform. Thank you once again for this beautiful evening with your Braj Nilacala Katha. You have to come here. Don't just cheat us money, Gopal. You should come here to Jagannath Puri and do kirtan with us and go to have darshan of Tota Gopinath and other places with us. Okay, Hare Krishna. And someone says, and Ujjwala Rasiga says, wow, that Gupta Vrindavan and Dwarka is Jagannath Puri. Yep. Okay, so let's go on. Let's see who else is here. Reed, do you have any reflections, anything you want to share with us tonight?
Hare Krishna. I kind of have a question.
Okay.
I know that.
Loud.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Are you back in Ypsilanti, by the way?
Yeah, I'm in the farm
Uh-huh.
area, in the farm project. So a little out of town, but still in the area, yeah. So I know you were saying Mahaprabhu sees Jagannath Puri is like literally non-different from Vrindavan. And I know that his mother, Sachi, wanted him to stay in Jagannath Puri, but he did go and visit Vrindavan at one point, but he decided to return to Jagannath Puri. What was like the main reason for desiring to return to Jagannath Puri when he actually went to Vraj itself? Yeah. Was it because there was more of a mood of union in Vrindavan compared to Jagannath Puri?
Exactly. That's a topic that I speak about a lot of times, and to really properly speak about it would take a long time. But Mahaprabhu, when he went to Vrindavan, where did he stay? He stayed in the place known as Imli Tal. And I know Jai Gaur has heard me speak about this many times, and some of the other devotees here too. Imli Tal is a place of Krishna Lila. In Dwapar Yuga, when Krishna was doing a Ras Lila with the gopis at Vamsivat, Srimati Radharani became sulky. She became angry, and she left the Ras Lila. So one of Radharani's names is Rasa Biharani. She's the heroine of the Ras Lila. If there's no Radharani, there's no Ras Lila. So Krishna left the Ras Lila and went searching for her. And he's searching on the bank of the Jamuna. And he's crying and calling out, Radhe, Radhe, Radhe. And finally, he's thinking so much about Radharani, he sits down underneath a tamarind tree. In Sanskrit, we call it Imli Tal. He sits underneath that tamarind tree and chanting the names of Radha, thinking about her. His Shamavarna, his blackish complexion, becomes like Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, like Radharani. So that same place, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Braj, he stayed in the same place. Later, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta acquired that property, and he built a temple which is still there today. Many years ago, not so long ago, that tree was still living. I had some darshan of the tree when it was still alive, and we have a piece of that tree on our altar, incidentally. But anyway, that same tree was there when Mahaprabhu sat under it, and now Mahaprabhu, he's the same Krishna, Nomi Krishna Sarupam, but he's in a different mood. He's not chanting Radhe, Radhe. He's in the mood of Radha, and Radharani doesn't go around doing kirtan of her own name. She likes to hear the name of Krishna. And that's why our sampradaya, the kirtan of our sampradaya, is prominently named of Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Radha Bhava Duti Savalitam Nomi Krishna Swarupam, in the mood of Radha, sat down under the same tree that Krishna sat under in Dwapar Yuga, only now in the mood of Radha, he's not chanting Radhe Radhe, now he's chanting Krishna Krishna, and an amazing thing happened. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so absorbed, crying in separation from Krishna. He's in the mood of Radha. We read in the 14th chapter, the Ancha-lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, that he was in the mood of Radha during this Brahma Ragit, when Radharani was feeling separation in the place known as Udavakeri, near to Nandagaon. She was talking to the bumblebee, and that's the height of her ecstasy. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita says that in Puri, this was the mood of Mahaprabhu, because he has to catch that mood of Radharani. That's the height of her ecstasy. And she's feeling so much separation from Krishna. So Mahaprabhu was sitting under that tree crying and crying, Krishna, 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 feeling so much separation. And then something happens. Because in Vrindavan, when Radharani cries out for Krishna, Krishna has to come. But now Radha and Krishna are the same. Krishna's in the mood of Radha. And now he's calling out the name of Krishna, and something happens. And Gora Sundar became Shama Sundar. His Gauravani, Varna, his golden complexion became the complexion of Krishna. And he thought, because this is a place of union, as you were saying, he thought, this is not good. I came here to taste this separation. And the next thing, the peacock feather is going to come, and the flute, and then I won't be able to feel separation. That's why Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and other Gaudiya Vaishnavas forbid devotees from putting a peacock feather on the deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is a side note. So he had to leave, but he had to go to a place which is two opposites in one container. It had to be Vrindavan, but it couldn't be Vrindavan because Vrindavan is a place of union. But at the same time, Radharani's mood is to be in Vrindavan. She's not getting happiness outside of Vrindavan. It has to be Vrindavan, but it can't be Vrindavan. So he goes back to Jagannath Puri. And that's why he returned. That's one answer. Kavi Karnapur in his Ananda Vrindavan, in his Chaitanya Charitma, his drama, Chaitanya Chandamrita, Natakam. He says that the reason why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back is because Lord Jagannath couldn't tolerate separation from him. And Lord Jagannath was calling him back. And another thing, in any case, this is a place of separation. But that separation is a feeling that he can't experience in Vrindavan. It's a greater kind of ecstasy, in a way. Okay? Does that answer your question? Something, Reed?
Yeah, that's great.
It's a beautiful question. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Okay. Mani Gopal, you had anything else? Let's see. What about Jai Gaur? And then I want to turn to the devotees here in the room because they can stay maybe a little longer, I think. I don't know. You guys okay? Yeah, of course. Okay. Jai Gaur, do you have any reflections you want to share with us tonight? Oh, Natalia's also there too.
Sure.
Is Bana Bihari
I really
there?
like. She is.
All right.
I really like the pastime with Jayadev Goswami and Krishna Dev and
the coconut shells.
Yeah, you know, you can tell a pastime with the devotee who was too poor kartals, and he had coconut shells also, and he would. When the Brahmins would chant Vishnu Purana for Lord Jagannath, and then they threw him out.
Yeah.
And then Lord Jagannath came in a dream and told them to bring him back because he liked him. So it was interesting. It's like the second pastime I had heard in Puri with coconut shells instead of kartals. I was wondering if there's any connection at all, or if that's just a common thing.
I don't know. I know that Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj always tells that story. I don't know any other example of it other than that. We've seen sometimes in some of the villages, some sadhus have kartals made out of coconuts like that. They're a little, they don't have a lot of resonation, you know. They don't have a lot of ring to them. It's more like an acoustic instrument, you know, kind of something. Jai Gaur's a musician, for those who don't know. Okay. Bana, is Jai Gaur being okay? He's got to check and see if he's bona fide. Is he bona fide?
Yes.
He's okay? All right. You all right? I want to write
Yes,
you sometime. I've been thinking about you lately, Bana Biharni Sama. I just wanted to write you a note sometime. I'm sorry I haven't, but I was thinking about it. Now they said something, I'm going to have to. All right,
just a little bit ago, she was looking at flights to India.
Oh, really?
She's got the bug.
You got to be nice to her, otherwise she won't take you with her. Okay. Let's see if Natalia, do you have anything you want to share?
Hare Krishna.
Say a few words in Russian, please.
Only in Russian?
Just something sweet
okay.
to the devotees here.
Харе Кришна, дорогие преданные, я правда не вижу вас. Мои поклоны вам.
Hey, I know where you're at.
Просто
She's usually in Estonia, but today she's not in Estonia. She's in Golokadam, Germany. I recognize the wall behind you. Wow, you're really
yes,
fortunate.
да.
Boy.
Also, those Russian devotees are also very, very fortunate that they are in Jagannath Puri,
Yes, we're all
because
very
in Jagannath
fortunate.
Puri, all the Hamas can be there. I was thinking that about when you asked about Ganesh, if he is in Vrindavan, and I found that there is this Mota Ganesh in Vrindavan, which appeared in Dvapara Yuga, when Krishna was present in Vrindavan, and he is different from other Ganesh forms, because usually Ganesh is giving blessings, but that Ganesh is holding his hands on his hips,
Oh.
and he doesn't want to leave Vrindavan. He wants to be there to see the Lilas of Radha and Krishna. And I was thinking then that for Gaura-līlā, actually, it should be that all the demigods, they came as associates of Gauranga. I guess
Yes.
Ganesh should also somewhere be there.
Yeah, somehow. Yeah. Hey, Ganesh is here in the Jagannath Mandir. He has his own temple here. That's another long story. But Ganesh is more prominent here. He's more prominent here in Puri because Puri is a place of opulence and sweetness. There's sweetness here, but there's also opulence. It's like Kshetra. In Kshetra, the Brij-basis are there with Krishna. It's something like the mood of Vrindavan there. But there's also all these opulent kings and armies and elephants and things like that. And it's kind of a little stiff in a way too. So the Sri Mandir, the Lakshmi temple is something like that here. And Ganesh is there and all the different demigods and things. Okay. Thank you.
Jagannath Puri as well as Gaura-līlā are more merciful because in Gaura-līlā all the demigods were as associates.
Yeah, they're very fortunate. Is Sachinanda Maharaj there now?
No, he is in Switzerland. No.
And second question, I just want to ask you real quick. I don't want to drive everybody crazy here, but was there a flood in Golokadam? Was there any flooding?
Around Golokadam, yes, but not in Golokadam.
But not in Golokadam. Very good. I was really worried about it because I've been hearing in Germany there's so much flooding in that. All right. Well, if you see Sachinanda Maharaj, please offer my humble pranams to him. I miss his association. Like 2 years now, it's going to be.
In 2 weeks.
You're going to see him. You're very fortunate. Okay. You're going to get initiated then?
If you pray for me.
We'll certainly pray for that. I'll be very happy. But you got to tell us, okay, Natalia? Okay. Hare Krishna. Okay. So now I want to turn to the devotees here in the room. And we have a special microphone, which I'm going to turn on. Just picks up a lot of sounds. And if anybody here has any reflections, what prize you won from the discussion tonight, let me just change the mic to that one. 1 second. Okay. How to show.
Hare Krishna, and thank you so much for this such a sweet lecture. And for me, it was interesting. At first, it is 16 gopis and 16 devis, because for me, Puri interesting because of so many ancient temples, and every time I see around, like, wow, it is some ancient temple, and who is this? I see, oh, it is Durga. But now you explain that this Durga is actually Gopi. And for me, it was like, wow, it's really like.
If you have the vision to see that. And therefore, when we enter, there's a smarta vichar, there's a smarta Brahman consideration. And Skanda Purana and so many different literatures write so many different things, and they're coming and doing fire sacrifices and chanting mantras and all this stuff. But there's a Gaudiya consideration also. The Goswami Vichar Prabhupada called it. And when we come to Puri, we want to see what is the consideration of the Goswamis. Spasiba. Prabhuji, you have any reflection you want to share? turn this. I'm trying to turn this thing at the same time. There we go.
Yeah, it's also, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your great lecture. And for me, it was like a great topic about these Durga Devis, because like we really visited so many places, and for us it was just Devi, just Durga. But now I will try to see they as a gopis.
The gopis
I
of
will try
Vrindavan.
to meditate. Yeah, for me
Good,
it's
good.
very interesting.
Okay. Let me do a couple of things here. Let's see. Mataji, do you want to say something? Okay, then just say a few words in Russian, very short.
Дорогие преданные, Хари Кришна, мои поклоны. Очень счастлива с вами встретиться и в такой прекрасной обстановке. И мы очень рады, что мы сегодня здесь присутствуем. И мы немного завидуем вам, что у вас это катха чаще. Я думаю, нам надо будет следить за вашей катхой и участвовать тоже в ней. Хари Кришна.
Okay, I don't know what that was, but Hare Krishna. Anybody else with some reflection? Krishna Kun, speak really loud, can you? She's saying what?
She was just saying that she's envying the devotees because they get this opportunity more often. I just wanted to make a comment on the
I don't think anybody's going to be able to hear you unless you talk about the kind of volume I am right now.
So I was just thinking about Brhad-bhagavatamrta and how when somebody actually
what?
When somebody actually comes to that point that they only want Krishna, and Durga Devi actually has them, and they can pray to her, make us go and put her under her stress,
Very interesting, and very interesting that Sanatana Goswami, who's presenting such a deep version about Jagannath Puri in Brhad-bhagavatamrta, is also saying it's about Durga in there.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting.
And the other thing that I wanted to share, because my heart I love this story about Jagannath Goswami and Kshetra, and Kshetra, how he's saying that also Jagannath Goswami says, how is it that anyone
Really loud.
How is it that anyone can understand the verses hidden in my heart?
Yes.
And what I was reminded of was Bhakti-Srila-Prabhupada's comment about the devotee being the super soul, and that's the only way. That's the devotee is the super soul of Krishna, and that's how.
Nice, nice. Prabhuji, do you have any reflection you want to share? If you can come up here, it's better. Spasiba.
We would like it to be here.
Sure.
Today, gave a wonderful perspective from that we can see all the Lilas, Līlās here in Jagannath. This is amazing because we can deepen our meditation. We can be in Vrindavan and we can meditate in these wonderful verses from Jagannathastakam and follow them and try to see Krishna and all his Lilas here. So it's very deep and very broad topic. So we can further develop our Krishna consciousness in this way.
Yeah, when we come to Jagannath Puri, we don't want to just come as tourists. What are we coming for? Because we want Vrindavan. Raja Bhagavan Bhajesa Tanayas Tadama Vrindavan, and the topmost abode is Vrindavan. It doesn't say Jagannath Puri is the topmost abode, it says Vrindavan is. We want Vrindavan. Why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu come here? Why did so many associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, he says, it gives a long list. He says, Swarup Damodar, Roy Ramananda, Sikhi Mahiti, Madhavi Devi, Gadadhar Pandit, many other devotees, he said, never went to Vrindavan, but they stayed in Jagannath Puri. Why is that? Well, we should understand there's a very deep purport to it. Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji had something?
I would ask one question.
Okay, Harisha.
I heard that in different yugas, all associates of the word came firstly gopi. Gopi came like in Ramachandra's time, like
the monkeys.
yeah, like the monkeys here, and in Krishna's times like gopi, and in Jagannath's times like a pandas. Would you heard something about some
utilization like pandas, but in Satya they came like shabras.
Yeah, Sabras, right.
And they came like gopis and Vapa, and in Kali they came like pandas.
Yeah, so here in Jagannath Puri, there's a lot of, just sit down for a minute. There's a lot of different conceptions, not all of which we agree with. Some of them we may not agree with in the beginning, but then if we contemplate on them, we may agree with them later on. I don't believe in being so rushed to judge everything. But there's this common idea amongst some of the pandas. I think this will be better. You can hear me better now. Amongst some of the pandas that, in the monkeys with Lord Ramachandra, in Treta Yuga and Satya Yuga, it was the Sabaras here in Nilacala, and in Dwarpa Yuga, it was the gopis in Braj, and then in Kali Yuga, it's become the pandas in Puri. I mean, it's maybe in some ways. I don't want to just be critical. I mean, I have some panda friends. I have one panda friend who's a quite prominent panda, and he likes very much to eat fish and chicken. It's really kind of hard for me, honestly, to think of him as a gopi. But but maybe I would. One thing is we don't see that kind of statement in any Gaudiya literatures. I'm not familiar if there's any literatures in Puri, any Sthala Puranas that say that. There may very well be, and I wouldn't necessarily disrespect them, but I wouldn't necessarily accept that as our Gaudiya conception. There may be some aspect or some Shakti from those personalities who come in that way, but we find it a little painful, actually, and a little distasteful to think like that. And we like to see some Shastra Pramana, and we don't see in that case. So that's pretty much all I can say about it. Is that okay? Krishna Kun.
It reminded me of Srila Prabhupada's warning that we should keep a distance from the classes.
Can everybody hear her okay? Reed, can you hear Krishna Kun when she's talking? Gornitai, can you hear her? Natalia? Yeah, they're saying not so well. I'm sorry, I'm just checking, because you always speak soft. And
it reminded me of what Prabhupada warned us about, that we should be careful not to go too close to the bridge passes and and also specifically that story. Was it Prabhupada's servant who came with him to a small temple in India, Pujari, and everything was so dirty, and the temple was like a disaster in one sense, according to this one standard. And then as they were walking away, the devotee asked Prabhupada, can I ask a question? Prabhupada, can I ask a question? And Prabhupada said, later. And then when nobody else was around, when it was just his servant and him, then he asked this question. So how do we understand? You told us cleanliness and punctuality. And Prabhupada said, yes, that is for you. But for him, his heart is for Krishna. So you don't see anything else. You don't see these turn-ups.
Right. We want to thank you. Yeah, we want to respect the pandas very much. It's a very Guru Goste Gostali Sujane Bhusuragane. Jagannathastakam Swami in his Manasiksha, in the first verse, he speaks about how we should respect everyone. We should respect, first of all, Gurudev. We should respect the Brij-basis. We should respect the Dham. And Bhusura. Bhusura means the Brahmins. We should give respect to them. And that means the Pandas in Puri. We should give great respect to them. Doesn't mean we hear Bhagavatam class from them. But we can give them some donation. We can help them and ask for their asirvad, their blessing, and they can give blessings because they're serving Lord Jagannath. We shouldn't be so proud and think, oh, I did more book distribution than this guy, you know, and I'm greater than the Pandus in Puri. Be careful. Okay, anybody else with any reflection, anything? Okay. Everybody has some questions. I'm not going to try to turn the computer again. It's getting too complicated.
Just really think about Rothyatra.
Uh-huh.
So when we pull in cards to the image in view, so everybody knows that. And when we pull in back Rothyatra to Shri Mandir, what's the mood behind? What's the esoteric thoughts about that? How we can set up our mind in this way?
Yeah, just a second. I'm going to... Okay, it looks like my mic got switched back. But I don't see it. Anyway, I just gave a class a few days ago and spoke elaborately about that. It's a question I had for many years, and especially I was going to sadhus, to different mahants and scholars, and asking them, did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu take part in the Bahuta Rothyatra? And if he did, what was the mood? And basically everybody told me no, he didn't. Because why would anyone, you know, what does it mean? You're taking Krishna away from Vrindavan and taking him back to Dwarka. What is that? But then in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Charit Mahakavya by Murari Gupta, I found two things. First of all, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that in Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates observed all the festivals. That includes the Bahuta Rothyatra. But then what are they doing? What mood is that? And then in the Chaitanya Charit Mahakavya, I'm trying to remember the Sanskrit, he says there that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu observed that festival, but he followed behind the cart. And he was crying, don't go, don't go, don't go. That was the mood. Just like the gopis in Vrindavan, when Akrura is taking Krishna away from Vrindavan, they went behind the chariot crying, don't go, don't go, don't go. So that's in that way. Okay? Prabhuji? I'm not sure if this is working now or not. Can you hear him okay? Go speak. All right, can you hear him read? And he says no. Speak really loudly, or maybe I don't think I can pull this mic over there.
Chapters of Madhya Lila, I don't remember, but maybe it is in Radhayatra pastimes or something, Vrindavan Lila pastimes. There is, I find that Lord Chaitanya see the drama of Lakshmi. Как это Лила называется?
Yeah.
And with all devotee he sees the drama and they laughing for that. So it means that he really take part of this ceremony of going back of chariots. So something.
My grandmother used to say that Jagannath is Aishvarya Madhurja Yugala Milan, Sri Jagannath. He's a combined form of sweetness and opulence. And that's Krishna in Kurukshetra. Krishna in Kurukshetra is very sweet. Now, what is the necessity of the opulence? You may say, I don't want opulence. We just want to be Vrindavan, right? But what is the significance of Puri Rothyatra? What is the significance of Jagannath Puri Lila? What is the significance of the meeting in Kurukshetra? The significance is that there's some opulence there, but that opulence, generally it's said that Aishvarya Priti Sankuchita, that opulence makes love shrink. But in Kurukshetra, when they saw Krishna's opulence, their feelings increased. The intensity of the gopis' love increased. No, we don't want this. We want you in Vrindavan. Chalo Baba, come on, you have to Paidyon. Let's go. We're going back to Vrindavan. Huh? They want to take him back. That those feelings become more and more intense, and that's also Jagannath Puri. Okay, so I think we should stop there. It's a little late, and you guys got to go. As a baby has to get some rest, and you guys got to get up tomorrow and do some bhajan. We also have to get up and chant our japa and things. So we'll go ahead and finish here. Thank you all very much. I'm sorry for the devotees in our normal program. So next week we're going to be speaking about our third part of Yuga Dharma Palo and Mahaprabhu's form known as Maha Mahindra Roop, and how he takes the form of the tree of all the devotees, and that's the form which he gives Lila Madhuri through anyway he gives Nam Madhuri through one form. He gives Guna and Rupa Madhuri through another form, and he gives us Lila Madhuri through this Maha Mahindra Rupa, and we'll speak more about that in our next session. Thank you all very much. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Jagannath Puri Dhamma ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Binda ki jai, Vancha Kalpa Darubhischa, Kripa Sindhu Vyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, Nandakori Vaishnava Brinda ki jai.